You are listening to the Starling Tribune, a podcast dedicated to the Arrow TV show.
This guy gets more airtime than the Kardashians, right?
This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, situations, and stories are the properties of Time Warner. I am the Oracle, and this is your Tribune.
Welcome back to the Starling Tribune. I am Stargate Pioneer, my friends. Call me SP. And your reporters for this 19th episode of Season 4 of the Starling Tribune are Chris.
I'm going back to a classic. You failed this city.
And Neil.
You cannot forget who you are, and we can never become them.
This podcast is recorded on Thursday, April 29th, 2016, live on the Blab streaming service. We're just a few guys that discuss the TV show Arrow. Just a little reminder that generally I'm a sci-fi guy, but I've been catching up with comic lore thanks to great folks like Chris.
I just picked up the last 4 months worth of comics I hadn't read yet. I have a lot to read.
And Neil.
And I actually went to Midtown Comics twice this week and just walked around with this big, silly grin on my face.
So, Neil, last night you weren't with us in our live broadcast of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Chris popped in afterwards, and we all guessed as to what Chris spent on his last 4 months of comics. So, Neil?
But he's got to figure out the conversion rate here. I mean,
No, it's okay. It's okay. I can do that.
It's in U.S. dollars, not Canadian.
He's in the Gonna Geek Financial Nerf Center right now. We're okay.
Carry the one.
160. I would say 320. $320.
That was close. It was about $250 for the books I had to pick up. I mean, but here's the thing to bear in mind, folks. All I'm reading right now is Batman at DC. And then I'm reading the Spider-Man books and all the Star Wars books and Iron Man.
I was figuring about $20 a week, 4 weeks per month for, 4 months.
That was also with my reservist discount, though. So, yeah.
There you go.
Who knows what it would have been retail? I don't want to figure that out.
See, I immediately went to my weekly poll, which this week was $50, which is high. I'll admit $50 was high, but I did get $50 worth of comics this week, and that hurt. That hurt a lot, but it's so good stuff. I just couldn't leave it there. I had to take it home with me, and it needed a home, and I'm going to give it a home. I even bought some short boxes to start filing this stuff because It's gone beyond the magazine file holders, that you put up on the shelves. And I got to go beyond that now. So that's where we're at right now. Anyway, now that we've talked comics for the past 5 minutes, let me give you a little spoiler warning. During this podcast, we will be talking about what happened in episode 19 of season 4 of the CW show Arrow, as well as other news, articles, and announcements that have dropped in the past and that could definitely impact future episodes. So therefore, it will contain spoilers. So consider yourself warned. And as a little reminder, all of our past shows that have dropped and been produced and have been published can now be found in the archives at GonnaGeek.com. All right, Neil, break this episode down for us.
Awesome. Thanks, SP. So this week, Season 4, Episode 19 of the CW television show Arrow, titled Canary Cry. Original air date of Wednesday, April 28th, 2016. Directed by Laura Belsley. Now, this is her first episode of Arrow as director. She's directed 1 episode of NCIS, 4 episodes of Criminal Minds, and a couple of other procedurals. But really, this is some new blood that we've got in Arrow. Now, the writers cannot be considered new blood. We've got co-executive producer Wendy Miracle and Beth Schwartz, who has also been a writer on 17 episodes and has been co-executive producer on Arrow for 23 episodes and a whole whack of Legends of Tomorrow. So experienced writing crew, but brand new Arrow director.
Which I believe when you're starting off with a brand new team, as in you've taken an integral part of the team and you've thrown her away, you need to kind of start new. So I think this was a good call.
I was trying to sit back and take a look at the directing after we went through this episode. looking at things like shots. And because this was a character-driven episode, there, not a lot of action. Getting Bam Bam to have directed this one would have been a waste, although he might have argued it was a good way to stretch his directing chops. But you wanted somebody that focused on interpersonal shots in reactions. And I think Laura did a great job as a director.
Yeah, I think it was great. And as far as for the action, again, we have to go back to the best business to be in Star City is window repair, because, with the Canary cry out, windows fly out left and right. And it's just what happens. So again, if you're looking to start a business in Star City, the most profitable business around will be a window repair business.
Yeah, I think what's also, and you have to think, what is the role of the director? The role of the director isn't just to frame shots and move action along, but it's to get the most out of their actors. And I would have to argue that Laura did a great job getting or working with her actors to get really important quality shots out of them. And we will talk on this podcast, about how Paul Blackthorne and other actors reacted and dealt with each other with all the emotion in this episode. And I think that's really important to frame how the directing went in this episode.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with the directing in this episode. I think the story was pretty well done. I think on the heels, and I still think it was a mistake to get rid of Laura. I will always think it is a mistake, and that is, we differ on that. We have 3 different opinions on it, but I think that if you're gonna, there's nothing that I'm going to do, and we said this before, that is going to change the way that Arrow is presented on the screen. So Laura's gone. They had to say she was gone. They had to emphatically pound it into the viewer's head that she isn't coming back, and she won't. Not as the Laurel Lance that we know, at least. And they did a good job of that. And now they got to move on with the rest of the story. And it's there that I think it fell flat a little bit, because I think, and this has nothing to do with the directing, I'm moving on to the story. I think that they were just pausing to do the CW thing. Like, okay, we lost somebody, we need to grieve them and move on. I'm sorry, in real life battles and wars, this doesn't happen. So it's just my 2 cents.
Well, this only took place over like 2 days after she died. I mean, we weren't talking like a week worth of time. It's a 2-day period. So one could argue they're just marshaling their forces to move forward again.
See, I think now is a prime time to strike, though. They know who all these people are.
They don't know where Damien is.
No. It's a prime time for Damien.
Gotcha.
To strike. Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to twist the knife and then walk away and let people suffer, though. This is part of what he's doing, is he's making them suffer with the pain of it. And then the plan of make it look like Team Arrow is behind her death and have the Black Canary's legacy be tarnished. That seems something to be very Damien-like. To be like, boy, you guys are sad I killed her. I'm going to make it worse because I'm going to crap all over her legacy.
Yeah, and I took a slightly different approach to it. While I think that's a really interesting take on it, Chris, I think that, remember, they put a real dent in Damien's organization when he was in prison. They put him in prison. They dismantled a bunch of the organization. It's in tatters. I don't think they have the infrastructure to rebound and launch all-out attacks right away. At the same point, I think Team Arrow is reeling. So while one of my personal beefs with the episode was that Ollie and Thea weren't out there, beating the pavement, trying to beat it out of people, trying to figure out, where Dark has gone to ground. I get it. I get the delay. And it does introduce some CW type stuff into this episode.
Well, I did like the change of pace where it's Ollie that has to be the glue to hold everyone together and can't fly off the handle. I mean, we get the flashback of Oliver struggling with Tommy's death and then eventually leaving. And this time it's Oliver's like, oh, I kind of have to be here for everyone because Diggle's going off the handle. Thea seems lost. Felicity, I don't know exactly this week the best way to describe it, but she's there, but not, if that makes sense.
Right. So you get to the end, though, and we finally get the entire scene, or at least of what we think is the entire scene right now. There might be some more. I don't think so. Between Felicity and Oliver in the back of the limo at the cemetery. And at the end, Oliver is stone cold and he's like, yep, I'm going to do it. We're going to take him down and I'm going to kill him. And it's the old Oliver. He's back. He's means business. And I think that is him channeling his anger, but it's all going to be there. And I don't think he's thinking about the team at that point in time.
He can't. I mean, Diggle already flew off the handle once that episode. Diggle is so caught up with the betrayal of his brother that's all he can focus on, to the detriment of the team. Him going off the handle, going after Rouvet, is what sets everything in motion to then tarnish the Black Canary legacy further. Going off and attacking the mayor on your own, drawing a gun and threatening her, you have to know this is going to come back on you. And then kind of pretty much confirming the fact that you know who I am, and them talking to each other in name didn't help either, I imagine. Secret identities are becoming less and less secure, and I kind of have some issues, something we'll touch on at the end of the episode, which I think compromises everyone's secret identities potentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're in violent agreement there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked a lot about our general thoughts. Should we just move on to some of our usual segments like fight scenes, stunts, and the flashbacks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's going to be a quick chat when we talk about fights. There weren't a ton. It was a really character-driven episode. There were some Ollie versus the faux Canary, shall we call her? But it wasn't really a fight or a stunt-centric episode.
It was very heavy dependent on the Canary cry. Obviously, the episode is entitled that and people crying, so that's probably part of what that is. But every action scene was pretty much the Canary cry going off. And the first time when Oliver confronted her, I'm sitting there, I'm like, why aren't you wearing your earplugs? You guys have these specially made earplugs. And I went in a little bit of a nerd rant about it while I was fast forwarding the commercials. Like, oh, this is just dumb. How did they forget? And then I then ate Crow, and he's like, my earplugs just didn't work. It's at a higher frequency. I was like, crap. They got me.
No, but that's such a highly
Nerds
piece of technology that I don't think anybody should be able to modify it. She took it, and it's like me going into a Home Depot and saying, well, I could build a skyscraper. It's not going to happen.
So did they ever explain, maybe I missed it because I was browsing Twitter at the same time while I was watching, how she's able to use the Canary cry when it's supposed to be keyed to Laurel's vocal cords?
No, I would consider that a plot hole. They said, well, she's a really smart high school student. I was like, yeah, that's a plot hole.
But Cisco built it.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
is a very smart grown adult with multiple PhDs.
Yeah.
Plot hole. Because plot.
Right. So that was it. But they did a good job of showing her actioning, jumping around, doing that sort of stuff. But they also did a good job of her not being fully capable. Like when she tried to go over the fence when Ollie was chasing her, he fumbled, or the stunt double or whoever was playing her fumbled going up over the fence. So I'm like, yeah, okay, well, not everybody's perfect. But at the same time, it's like, why didn't Oliver go get her? That was a perfect opportunity. She stumbled. Oliver could have gotten her that anyway.
He was still staggered by getting his ears wrung.
Yeah, and sorry, not to geek out or fanboy out here, but Ollie has those great, wraparound bolo kind of wire arrows in the alley. He could have fired one of those and pinned her to that chain link fence. Yes, she still would have been able to Canary cry, but she would have been stuck to the fence.
See, I was expecting him to do that from a distance, then go up to confront her, and we know why. It's because plot. It was better to have that confrontation and her get away. It makes the Black Canary look like a stronger character in that case when she gets over on the Green Arrow. That's probably part of the reason on it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And I just have to throw one comment out as a resident of Star City. That arrow is the side of a building called 100 Parker Street. It's a massive warehouse complex that has been subdivided into hundreds of little artist studios. And you can tell that from the graffiti all over that wall. It is one of my favorite buildings in Star City. So, I was like, ooh, I know that place.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I know the thing.
That thing. I know that thing.
Well, I think that's about it for the fights and the choreography. I mean, it was okay, but it just wasn't the focus of the episode. No. I think we need to talk about political intern's beard. Because, like, wait, we saw him like 2 days ago in the show's time period, and he's got a full beard.
Okay, so here's something to consider, though. In the show's time period, we're less than a year away from Oliver having a beard that goes halfway down his chest.
So facial hair growth is a new superpower in Star City?
Yes, it is. There's something in the water on Lian Yu and Star City that can cause hair follicles to be stimulated, and please send some to me.
This has been the Starling Tribune Hair Report with Chris and SP.
You're an expert on hair once you've lost it all.
Oh, hey, listen, though, SP, he's not political intern dude. He's political operative dude now. We have a title.
He's always been political operative dude. He's always been working for Damien Dark and Revenge.
Oh, here we go again.
He's still doing. Yeah, he's still gonna come back and betray Thea. It's gonna happen.
Quarter bet?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll take a piece of that action.
Sure, there you go. I got 50. I got 2 bits for this. Yeah, let's do it.
I am your biggest offender on that other cast you do, but I gotta fall back on SP is always wrong.
Ooh.
It's going to happen. Political intern dude is going to turn on Thea. They're going to use him to trap Thea as we go into the big season finale.
I think it's eerie calling him an operative. They could have called him a consultant. They could have called him a political, specialist, but he's an operative. That's an ominous word. I actually may end up losing this bet, but I still want to take it.
No, he's got the evil beard of
evil. This evil beard of evil.
Yeah. This is not the Star Trek mirror dimension or mirror galaxy, SP. Beards don't automatically equal evil.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely.
Damien Dark doesn't have a beard.
He will.
Yeah, he will. Okay. John Barrowman doesn't have a beard.
That's because he can't grow one. He physically cannot grow one.
Yeah, but they can paste one on. We know they can make fake beards.
Well, maybe next time.
Ones.
Well, it's hard to shave with only one hand, so maybe the beard will be coming. He still doesn't have the second hand, right? I mean, we don't know.
Oh, hang on. No, he had a hand last episode. He's got a prosthetic.
He's got a prosthetic that the fingers don't move on. It just permanently holds a sword.
So one of the fingers pops. No. One of the fingers pops off, and he has the shaving finger.
Right. Yeah. Or
go gadget shaving finger.
Right. Or like the Coulson hand, he just takes it off, puts a new one on, and.
Why are we talking about hair? That's someone else's podcast, not ours.
As I say, the Starling Tribune Hair Report.
Because I needed to point out that the political operative was evil, and he is going to take on Thea. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, I missed you guys.
We miss you too, especially we did the podcast about Batman vs. Superman because you wanted to do it.
Oh yeah, I missed that one.
You did.
And here's the kicker
on the inside.
SP's the one that's like, I never want to see Suicide Squad, and I was like, you do know Neil's make us watch it, right?
I am not going to watch Suicide Squad.
It's got Katana in it.
No way. I'm going to wait for it. No, I'm not going to watch it in theater. And I'll wait for the Blu-ray or DVD, and if it's really that good, I'll pick it up. But I refuse.
I will PayPal you tickets, or I will buy them at your local theater for you. They'll be sitting at will call.
I am not going to waste my time in the theater. Sorry, DC burned me like 3 times this year, and I'm not going to do it again.
All right, how about this? If its aggregate Rotten Tomatoes score is better than 75%. 3 days after release, you will relent and see it.
No, I'm holding firm. I am not going to see it in theater. I am not going to support DC.
What if it's good? What if it's good?
Then I'll see it later on Blu-ray. I'm fine with it.
SP will see it when it's on FX because they've got the movies.
And I'll fall asleep during the commercials. Because they're so long. They're like 7-minute commercial breaks.
Chris, we'll talk about it.
You won't fall asleep because they'll raise the volume by 20% when
which is illegal, but they still do it. Ugh.
All right. Hey, how about back to the episode? So
I guess.
we had flashbacks this week. We saw the 2013 funeral, and actually, I thought there was a pretty good parallel. It was actually some of the best flashbacks we've had this season.
Yeah, but this is when I actually wanted island flashbacks so we could understand more of the magic. I was sitting there, I was like, I kind of want to understand more of it. Now, don't get me wrong, it was not bad to have these flashbacks, but I was like, oh man, and magic explanations. Or I just like to be contrary, I'm not sure which.
The island sucks. The flashbacks are boring. No flashbacks, 2013. Oh, I missed the island. You, sir, are a CW watcher.
No, I think it's more of we had this break. And I kind of feel like they just extended the break on the back in time stuff. I just want to know more of where they're going with it because we've seen these interviews. Oh, we know people haven't liked the flashbacks, but they're leading up to something. I wanted to see what.
Well, leading up to next season is what they're leading.
They're leading to Russia.
I have to admit, my expectations went back to season 2 when Oliver and Thea's mom, Moira Queen, died. In the very next episode, what did we get? A bunch of Moira Queen flashbacks. So I knew they'd just go right back to it and they would do a bunch of Laurel flashbacks in Starling City. I knew that was going to happen.
I mean, but it was a solid twist, though. I mean, Oliver Queen's not showing up for Laurel's funeral. Why is that? Oh, this is actually Tommy's funeral. Yep. Mind twist. Not bad. It was fun. I mean, it was an interesting way to also let fans continue to say farewell to Laurel because you get to look back at where she used to be and remember where she got to. So it's not a bad thing. Far from it.
Yeah. And this does explain why we saw 2 sets of photos for the wedding with 2 different sets of characters and Lance with hair, because that was one of the spy shot paparazzi things that was going on, a few months ago.
Wedding or funeral?
Funeral.
Okay.
Funeral as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they basically
did
came
I say
out.
Wedding?
Yes, you did.
Yes, you
They
did.
basically came out and said
same.
that one of the funerals was a flashback, and that's why you had some characters there that would potentially not be in the other one. That came out a couple of weeks before the episode, so I knew that as well. And I was fine with it. I was fine with even. I did have an issue with the other funeral, so when we get there, I need to say that. But I thought the flashbacks were fine.
Yeah, they serve their purpose, and you can kind of understand maybe why Laurel became a drunk, because Oliver leads her on right after Tommy dies and then vanishes. Way to go, Oliver.
Yeah, if Oliver would do that to me, I'd drink a lot too.
Yeah.
I would.
You can't drink a lot.
Speaking of
It'll kill you.
Oliver, does he go too soft on the fake Canary?
Yes, I think on purpose.
I think he doesn't have it in him, which is my point. I think this was prime targeting opportunity for Damien Dark and his gang of ghosts, even though they're depleted, to go after him, because you strike your opponent when they're at their weakest, and this would have been a perfect strategic time to do it.
Well, we already know Damien and the Ghost are going to be mighty hacked off after Diggle went after his wife. That's going to set in motion Damien being really PO'd.
Yeah,
you go after my family, you're mine.
I was thinking about that, and would it have been better for Diggle just to have shot her or not? Because if she's dead, that's a whole new.
I think so. I'm not sure why. I get why Ollie stopped him, but I'm not sure why Ollie stopped him. And I think Diggle was hesitating too long. And, come on, dude, you're a soldier. You don't stand there soliloquizing. Soliloquying? Monologuing. There we go.
Words
he
are
monologued.
hard.
Yeah, he monologued, and he should have just pulled her out and shot her.
But I get where Oliver's coming from. That's not how Laurel would want her legacy to be remembered, for them to go and kill because she passed. Remember, Laurel didn't kill. Everyone else in that show's killed. Laurel didn't kill.
Well,
Damn you and your logic.
yeah. I was just thinking of the fact that they probably killed without meaning to, because
That's entirely possible, but let's put it this way. They never made a point of showing her kill on screen as they have with everyone else on Team Arrow, with the exception of Felicity, I believe.
right. Fair enough.
Yeah, I get it.
Now, he might want her dead, but don't do it because of what happened to Laurel.
I wouldn't have hauled her out of the limo. I would have shot her in the limo.
Yeah,
I think
double
part of
tap.
it was he was trying to get answers, and she was the convenient scapegoat for his brother's betrayal, and that was what this was really about. And He was a little on edge, off the deep end.
If I was Diggle, I would have gone after my brother. I wouldn't have gone after Rouvet.
Yeah.
But,
And, maybe I'll backtrack a bit here. We know that Rouvet is very nasty because we have seen her with Hive. We have seen her actually being more cutthroat. But Team Arrow has never seen her being evil. They just know that she is married to evil.
That's true.
So they have less justification for an all-out execution.
wasn't she evil in the house when they were going after him? Didn't she do something?
She made comments, if I recall correctly, but anyone can make comments.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I just
we all have Twitter. Anyone can make comments.
Nerd rage.
Nerds.
Captain Lance. Let's talk about Captain Lance and how he portrayed the grief of a father, and how Paul Blackthorne. I mean, this character has lost 3 daughters, and he only has 2, and he's probably getting good at playing the police officer who has lost a daughter at this point, and it shows.
And you kind of see it on there too. He has that eternal optimism. We'll find a way to fix it. We've been able to do it before, and they had to gradually have him come to that realization. You can't fix this.
Well, I think Paul Blackthorne is doing okay in life because he does a great deal of acting, of the method acting, and I think that this, in the grand scheme of things, he's doing this character very well. I mean, we all expected him to die, but he's there. And then also in his private life, he's doing pretty well as well. So, he's riding a good wave right now. Maybe not as successful as his girlfriend, but, sometimes that happens. I think that he is understandably going through all of the stages of grief that one would do having had a daughter come back from life before. And he's doing everything for the fans, right? So the fans are like, well, why didn't you just throw it in a Lazarus pit? Because it doesn't exist anymore. I'm sure there's something else out there that will help. No, I'm sorry, there isn't. Really? Is she really gone? Yeah, she's really. And at the end, he even says it to his wife.
Yeah. I've actually got a thought there, but I'm going to save it until we talk about comics and collectibles, because there was something in this week's or last week's Dark Archer which actually raised a couple of questions, but let's save that till later.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that the Nyssa in this episode was amazing. It must have been very difficult for her to come in and do the scenes, because this was basically her life partner. I mean, for better or for worse, and her life partner's sister, and she's got a very weird relationship with the Lances and the Queens, and it's just the whole on you stuff. But so her coming in and dealing with the situation the way she did, I'll commend her for her acting as well.
So pretty much everyone knows except Sarah, and that's what's going to be interesting is when Legends of Tomorrow season ends and they presumably come back to 2016, what's her reaction going to be when she finds out? I hope they bring Paul Blackthorne in to be the one, or excuse me, Captain Lance to be the one that breaks it to her.
Interestingly enough, Paul Blackthorne was in an episode, and I won't spoil anything.
Tonight's, isn't it?
No, he was in last week's episode.
Last week's, okay. See, I'm a week behind. So
am I. I'm a week behind.
Yeah. So he was in last week's episode as a younger Captain Lance or Detective Lance or whatever.
You're saying he had hair?
He did. He was with hair. Absolutely.
Just bringing it all back to hair talk on the Starling Tribune.
All right, well, let's talk Diggle. All right. Diggle, should he be blaming himself? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Blame is such a harsh word. I get where you're going. He is responsible. But blame.
He made everyone trust Andy. He's like, you got to trust him now. After he was vehemently opposed to trusting him to begin with, they believed Andy because he said so. Oliver's like, I don't think you should trust him. We should be wary of him. And they got played. It's on Diggle.
It is. My only point there is,
you don't like the word blame. Is Diggle responsible for the circumstance they find themselves in?
I'm fine with him being responsible. The blame thing, when you've lost a team member and you have to move forward and you still have this big bad out there, you have to take care of that. So I'm not sure if blame is useful.
Why everyone's like, it's not your fault, is because they need him to be functional. We've all had those instances in our workplace before where someone does a bonehead move that screws something up. In order to keep their head in the game, you sometimes have to be like, hey man, it's not your fault. Bad things happen. Let's keep going. Only in this case, his bad thing that he did leads to someone dying on the team. If they told him straight up, yeah, it's your fault, he's already off the deep end. What's going to happen then? It's the same thing you've seen with Oliver in past seasons too, where everyone knows it's his fault. But Diggle has to be the one that comes and tells him, hey, man, it's not your fault. We're going to move forward.
Well, Oliver even says, well, look, man, I'm the king of self-blame here. So they brought that out at least.
Hey, Felicity, I think, Chris, you mentioned this earlier. She didn't have a huge role in this. She was kind of written weird. We finally get the back of the limo scene and her little one-on-one with Diggle, but there wasn't really a ton of Felicity.
No, she was kind of just on the edge of things, brought back in because of the tragedy of it, and blame herself because she's not there. The limo scene kind of irked me a little bit. She's like, oh, you never let things stop you. That's one of the reasons why I loved you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, so kill him. And I'm like, let's go back. You're the one that told him to stop killing people, and that's why you loved him, is because blah, blah, blah. So now I loved you, so go kill. And I was like, I don't know how comfortable I am with this. I understand you have to put that motivation into play. I get it. I don't know that it needs to be Felicity, and we all know that she was going to say it, but that was before everything unraveled to what it is between their relationship and stuff. I don't know that she needs to be the one being like, go kill.
I don't know. I was distracted by that entire scene by her very shiny knees. They
Random
were shiny.
SP is random?
No, I mean, take a look at that scene. My eyes went straight to it. They were popping out and shiny and reflecting light. And I'm like, geez, tone that down a little bit.
Makeup.
Exactly.
Powder on her knees.
And honestly, her legs looked a little bit sunburnt, like she just came back from the beach. So anyway, I was completely distracted by that.
I don't even know how to respond to that at this point. I'll be honest.
Go ahead, go back and watch that scene, and you tell me if the legs aren't a little bit distracting.
That's not going to be weird at all. I'm watching a rerun of Arrow just to see how shiny Emily Bett's knees are, because SP told me to.
Yeah,
well, it's Emily.
Hey, honey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm rewatching Arrow. Oh, yeah. Did you enjoy the episode? No, I need to take a look at her knees.
I'll take screenshots and send them to you because it was completely distracting.
That's not creepy either.
I can't win here, guys.
No, you can't.
You should have known that when you brought the topic.
The way the camera was, I mean, the knees were right there. I mean, it wasn't anything sexual or anything. It was just knees and shine, and that was it. But yeah, that's just to point out how awkward the whole situation was to me, because it was very awkward. Her reaction is all over the place, really. But in the end, to me, she gets back to classic Felicity and telling Oliver what he really needs to do in order to take care of things. Oliver, you need to go kill Ra's al Ghul. Oliver, you need to go kill Damien Dark. You got to do it. Otherwise, bad things are going to happen.
It's an awful convenient thing. We're like, don't kill until it's convenient to kill. I mean, granted, it's not the same as season 1 Oliver, who was like, huh, you screwed up, die.
You failed the city.
Now he actually thinks about it, and in most cases, doesn't kill. But it's a very slippery slope, I guess. And
I'll say it again.
It's me weird when they go back.
I missed that Oliver, though.
The brutal, just, you're going to die, Oliver.
Yeah, it was simpler times.
You have failed this city.
Yeah, arrow to the chest.
Center mass. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about Thea saving political intern dude, or political operative dude, as he's now known. Hey, let's talk about the de facto, let's not call her villain, but character they set up opposite Ollie this episode. The new Black Canary, the new Evelyn Sharp character, a.k.a. Starling.
Ooh, I
Is that
see
a-
what you did there.
Is that a DC character that I don't know about?
Well, let's park that until we get down to our Easter eggs.
All right.
Yes.
The one question I have about her is at the very end, did she escape? Did Oliver let her escape, or did she get arrested?
No, she escaped because I
She
think we
escaped,
saw
yeah.
her at the funeral watching from a distance, didn't we?
I didn't catch that. She was, wow. All right. I will have to go back and watch the funeral scene then.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you have to, of course, because that's how you get your knee shot.
Yes, it's right after that.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, am I the only one missing talking about who's in the grave at the end of the episode now? I feel we should be talking about who's in the grave.
So
See,
who's
I'm
going
not-
to be in the grave at the end of the season?
I'm not, well, okay. Because we've been tipped, and this is in the news later, that there is going to be more deaths headed our way.
See? You can still speculate.
Yeah. And I will say that also, I just want to point out that I don't miss it really that much because we are now doing it on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., who's in the spaceship. They've done the same thing over there in Marvel for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So we have been speculating that ever since.
What's in the
show
box? What's in the box?
In this case, what's in the spaceship? What's in the spaceship? But okay, so let's take it into the future. If a member of Team Arrow is going to die, and we don't know that for sure. I mean, it could be somebody else. But if a member of Team Arrow is going to die before the finale of season 4, who do you think it's going to be, Chris?
Ooh, a member of Team Arrow that's going to die. Diggle.
Could be.
Because
I
we already know
see Diggle.
he's a little unhinged about what Andy's done. So he's going to do something stupid. And we've seen the movement you have in this show. It's kill off the older people so that Oliver can stand on his own. And one of Oliver's last crutches is his brother in arms of Diggle. Do I think it's going to happen? No.
Well, I don't know if I think they may actually off Andy. If anyone deserves to die, it's Andy.
Yeah, but
Andy
he's
and
not really a Team Arrow member.
they'll tease John Barrowman's Malcolm Merlin dying again. Because they like to tease that he can die.
See, I'm gonna go back to the standby. I think that Detective Captain Lance is gonna die, and it's gonna be right after he has his Vontum threesome with Donna and Alex Kingston's character. So that is gonna happen. It's a CW show. It's gonna happen, and then he's gonna get offed because.
Are you going to start writing Arrow fan fiction to make some of these things happen? Because this sounds like something I've seen of like twisted fan fiction stuff that people write.
It's not twisted, my friend. That's good fanfic.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, well,
and it's just normal CW too. So I see
Well,
it
yeah.
happening.
CW shows get some weird fanfic. Go and look at the Supernatural forums. That's
No,
what
no,
the girlfriend
don't.
was telling me.
No.
And yeah,
No,
you can go read about
don't
some
go there.
incest if you want.
Oh, I didn't know it had a name. You just gave it a name. That means it's a thing. Ooh.
I didn't give it a
Ew.
name. The fandom gave it a name.
So again, I said that to point out that Donna I didn't see her at the funeral. I saw Alex Kingston at the funeral, but I did not see Donna at the funeral.
So are you really going to bring your new girlfriend to the funeral of your daughter that your ex-wife is coming to when you're escorting your ex-wife down there as you're both grieving together?
Okay, so first of all, she did know Laurel personally. Donna did. And second of all, ex-wife. Yes, the mother of the daughter, but ex-wife.
That he wanted to get back with last time she was here, and she had to be like, "Oh, I'm with someone now." If I remember,
He's moved on. He's with Donna now. See, so Donna should have been at the funeral.
Okay, so we all know the real reason this didn't happen is because then they would have to pay the actress to be in another episode. But let's go story reason. I think it's entirely more likely that it's I should stay out of the way in case there's any problem here.
No, funerals are a place where no matter who you are or whatever, you come to the funeral unless you have
It's a soap opera, man. This is a soap opera in prime time. Soap operas are prime grounds for fighting and screaming and yelling at each other because funerals are emotion driven and things like that. I lost track of what I was trying to say there for a second.
Well, Oliver Queen not being at Tommy's funeral is one thing. Donna not being at Laurel's funeral, that's something completely else. And I just don't buy it. I think, again, plot hole. That's my big plot hole for this episode.
She could have hung out with Felicity, in fact, because her sister is also daughter is also very impacted by this. So she could have gone, are you sitting on the friend side of the funeral or the family side of the funeral? She could have hung out with Felicity.
Guys, don't get me wrong. I'm completely with you that she should have been there, but we all know so they didn't have to pay someone to show up to be in one scene in an episode.
If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna kill off a main character and you're gonna make it very impactful, you fill the funeral with absolutely everybody that you can, and that's a fail to me that they didn't do that.
We're overstating how well Donna knew Laurel. Also, they met a few times, but it's not like
no. But I get it. I mean, she would be consoling her current boyfriend, who really needs her at that point in time, if their relationship means anything. Who
took it on himself to console the ex-wife, who is their daughter they share together. I mean, they made a point of showing him escorting in. I cannot remember rather that character's name. Alex Kingston's character.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
Complete brain fart. Don't get me wrong. I think it should have been there, but I think they kind of spun it so they don't have to.
Yeah.
We'll agree to disagree here because I know what you're trying to do, Chris, but I can't go there. I have to say,
got bigger things to quibble about than the fact that Mama Smoke wasn't at Laurel's funeral.
Well, maybe, but it all stems from the fact for me that I think it was a mistake for them to kill off Laurel in the first place. And if you're going to kill her off, then you do it right. And for the most part, yeah, but there's just been little things that just really bug me. And I just hope that they can rebound and have a strong season finale and go into season 5 strong, because we've discussed it before. The show has lost its way from time to time in season 4, a lot because of Felicity, but other reasons as well. And let's just get out of it and go on to something else. But they have to start doing stuff right. They got to do it right. And they're not.
Agreed. Any final comments before we get on to next week's episode promo?
I should probably not comment anymore.
Well, we didn't touch on the big thing about the funeral yet, did we? That Oliver pretty much outs Laurel as the Black Canary to save the Black Canary's legacy. I mean, we all know that the Black Canary's legacy got run through the mud because of this new character that stole the Canary Cry and started causing a ruckus. And he pretty much says, she told me she was the Black Canary, and then kind of puts everyone else's secret identities at risk.
This is
like mic drop and you walk away after that, Chris.
This is part of what I'm saying the show is not doing it right, because they're just opening up everything, because all of the villains that have been out there, either they're in prison or they're out and about and around. What happened to Anarchy? Is he still around, right?
I think he's still out.
Right.
I can't remember.
Or did he die? He died. They killed him at the house. Anyway, you have villains out there that know the team, and once you start connecting the dots, you're going to connect it to everybody. You're going to connect it to Felicity. You're going to connect it to Curtis. You're going to connect it to Oliver and Thea and Diggle really quickly. And it was a big strategic mistake for the team. It was a strategic win for the Black Canary's memory, but for the team, it was just a big mistake. Bad OPSEC, Ollie, and you might as well just take the mask off and run around town now.
It's the problem they have in this show from time to time. These characters is they don't think here, and then for audio listeners, I'm pointing to my head, they instead think with their heart. They think we need to do something here for this person in memory of that, or because of feelings, not because of logic. I understand why they did it, because the big thing is, what is this going to do to Laurel's legacy? This is terrible that she's parading around in that when Laurel died, things like that. I understand, and that was the way to do it. And it was Oliver acting on emotion, I think, not on logic.
Do you get the feeling he didn't tell the rest of the team what he was doing or what he was going to do?
Because they almost looked shocked.
Yeah, you saw the look on Diggle's face.
Yeah. So don't you think, I mean, if you think back to why Felicity left him, she said, because you didn't run something important by the people closest to you. And he did it again. That's what I came back to.
Oh, and then she also, this was spiteful. She also had that comment earlier on about the one illegitimate child. Remember that? Earlier in the episode?
A little bit of snark there.
Yeah, so things are not all kosher with the team, but they know they have to band together to go after Damien Dark, so they need to do it the right way.
They're fractured, but they're holding together temporarily for this, and you're going to have something fall apart at the end of the season once the Damien Dark thing gets cleared up. You're going to see the team break apart and Team Arrow break into some pieces, I wager, and then Season 5, the beginning of it's going to be all about, got to get my team back together to do this. I can't do this by myself anymore, or something like that.
Meh.
So again, a problem I have with the episode. Come on, Arrow, draw me back in with the good old fights, and you have failed the city and stuff. Please do it, because I want to like the show again.
So this episode wasn't necessarily designed to appeal to those if they're all about the fights and stuff. This was designed to everyone you saw on Twitter 2 weeks ago. It was like, no Laurel, no Arrow, trying to get that hashtag trending. This was designed to give those people a send-off they could believe was more proper for the character versus feeling like, oh, they just killed her off, I'm angry. This was, here's your episode to say goodbye. And ironically, some people tweeted about that. Some people were angry about it. Yeah, ratings are up this week. So good job, all you no Laurel, no Arrow folks. You did a great job making ratings suffer.
We'll see if it happens again next week. Of course, we're coming up to the end of the season, and people are catching up, like Suncast. He mainlined the show just to catch up for this week. So way to go, Suncast.
Yeah, let's see if he keeps watching based off the comments in the chat room.
All right. So, yes, I think that does it for the episode, Neil, unless you have anything else.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
How about next week? So next week we have season 4, episode 20, titled Genesis. And the summary is, as Oliver and Felicity look for a magical solution to defeat Dark, a vengeance-driven Diggle gets a lead on Andy's whereabouts and heads off to confront his brother. Meanwhile, Alex takes Thea on a vacation that quickly turns into a nightmare. Directed by Gregory Smith, writers Oscar Ballerdrama and Emilia Ortega Aldrich.
We've had this team before, and I look forward to what they have to offer.
Definitely.
Vacation. Your friend just died. And the team is struggling. You're going to go, never mind. I'll save it for next week.
Evil.
Sometimes you got to get out of Dodge.
Evil political operative dude. This is where he starts to take her down.
Taking her out of the picture.
Just run away when people die.
Oliver's done it before.
Yeah.
She's only half queen, so it took a while for that to happen.
Oh, harsh. Oh,
what?
Oh,
How was that harsh?
Let's
It's just an observation. She's only half queen.
Let's move on to the Easter eggs.
yeah, exactly. There's only a couple this week. Chris, you want to run us through?
Yeah, sure. Let's start with the first one. News 52 is back yet again.
And did you see that the guy holding the mic followed her as long as he could to keep it in the camera shot for more than just a split second? Yeah.
Oh, I love News 52. The next one that we had was Dr. Schwartz. The doctor was named after one of the show's writers, Beth Schwartz.
Did not know that. That's awesome. And I would expect to see her more in the future because they've used her character at least twice, if not 3 times now.
That's true.
Yeah.
And this next point, Neil teased it a little bit. We got a Black Canary replacement. The question is, was she Starling? And for those that aren't familiar, in the comics, Starling is Evelyn Crawford, who is a young former member of Birds of Prey. She's a friend of Dinah Lance from their time undercover at Penguin's Iceberg Lounge and was the first member of Black Canary's new Bird of Prey in the 2011 series.
Yeah.
So they could be hinting at another superpower, well, not superpowered, another vigilante that could be out there. Who knows?
Yeah. And the character was pretty cool. If you read some of the Birds of Prey, she was a former CIA, former Argus type operative, relied on pistols a lot like the character of Evelyn Sharp did in this episode. So, yeah, a lot of people are hypothesizing that maybe this was Starling. So that's pretty cool.
That is indeed.
It is indeed.
So moving on to some news for this week, guys. Chris, you hinted at the first news story about what we might expect in the season 4 finale. You want to take us through?
Yeah, so here's the main takeaways. Comicbook.com had an interview with Wayne Miracle where she has a quote. It's a pretty grim one, I'm sad to say. We have a huge number of potential fatalities. I'm putting the emphasis on potential. It is not done that way in the interview. So the question is, are they really going to kill people? If so, who? Or is it just a tease?
Well, I think they're going to kill people. I don't know.
They're going to kill people we care about.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase.
I'm not sure about that. So we'll see.
Yeah. And you know what? I think, Chris, we need to turn this next story over to SP.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, he needs this one.
I do. I need a little pick-me-up tonight. So Emily Bett Rickards was cast in a sci-fi thriller called Slumber, in which a woman is trying to put together some of her past and her missing daughter after waking up from a coma. And I read the whole story, and that's basically it. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what her acting chops are outside of the show. A lot of TV actors, when they translate into the big screen, don't translate very easily or at all. So I'm just kind of wondering if her talents will easily go on to the big screen, or if this will kind of be a one and done for her. So this will be a pivotal moment for her as an actor.
Definitely. I think it's cool. They said it's got elements of Memento, of Jacob's Ladder, and a whole bunch of other things. It could be cool. So I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be interesting.
The next story that we have in our news isn't really news per se, but it's a really interesting article I found on Cinema Blend that deconstructs outing Laurel as Canary. And guys, we've talked a lot about this, but the article is all about how this can blow back on Team Arrow. And Chris, I think you called it. There could be a lot of secret identities that are blown. And listen, I think Team Arrow was pretty cavalier with their secret identities. Ollie started it off in front of the limo. He's like, John, you can't do that. I'm like, what are you doing?
But, no, I think she knew already, and he hinted at that, remember? Because in that scene, he goes, you know who I am.
Right.
Directly to her. And let's be honest, Diggle's identity concealment device, not that great.
Weren't we supposed to get a new one as well from Cisco partway through the season?
It was teased. There's still more of the season left. I don't know. I would assume we might get a variant of it.
And something we didn't talk about during the episode was when Flash actually comes up. I don't know exactly where that is, because if you're watching Flash, I don't think it would have been possible for him to actually show up this week if the shows are running concurrently.
So I had a conversation with the girlfriend. I was like, he doesn't have his speed back yet. How is this going on? And she goes, yeah, but he can travel in time. He could have felt real bad because he couldn't make it to the funeral and went back in time to go console Oliver. And I was like, well played. Well played indeed.
If he's going to do that, then go all the way back and actually attend the funeral. And when Oliver says, I just want to be alone, I think it was a cop-out for him to leave, because if I was a true friend, what I would have done in that moment, and I might have gotten my ass handed to me or whatever, but I would have put my hand on his shoulder and said, just remember, if you need anything, just let me know. And then I would have gone. But that's not what he did. He just booked off. Way to go, Barry.
He's got a lot of bad ass happening in his life, though, too. He's probably a little distracted, in all fairness.
I know, but when you're talking to a good friend, I would say best friend. I think they're besties. I would actually comment a little bit more. And Oliver understands. He's dealing with Zoom and everything, so there's no bad blood there. But I would have just said, hey, if you need something, like a quick trip somewhere else, like we've...
I wasn't going to complain. They just gave us a cool moment between heroes that I wasn't really expecting. Yeah, I would not have expected that to happen, other than the fact they had teased it earlier this season that it happened. To be honest, that's more what I'm meaning.
If they were truly buddies, hey, you want to go grab a beer? Yeah.
Well, maybe, but they are both dealing with major supervillains right now, so maybe not the best time to go drinking.
He also knows how Oliver's wired. Is you've kind of got to leave him alone for a little bit after emotional things happen.
I get that, but I still would have extended, hey, if you need anything, call. I mean, like he wouldn't do it anyway, but I still would have said it.
It goes without saying.
Yeah.
Apparently.
I wasn't going to quibble on that one. I thought it was just cool he was there.
Great. So we also got a couple of cast and crew interviews this week, just a few. The first one, maybe I'll lead this off, is Paul Blackthorne did a really detailed interview with comicbook.com talking about how his character is going to react to the loss of another daughter. And it's pretty interesting. It goes into the psychology of a fractured and broken man. And we saw that in the episode, how he's like, it was Laurel that was there for me. It was Laurel that believed in me. We got each other kind of out of the bottle. And he's broken. He's hurt.
Yeah.
He is. And he's doing a good job. And he's done a great job playing the alcoholic before and the man who's lost his daughter, the man who's physically broken. I mean, he's done you can't argue with the guy's acting cred as much as we all thought he'd be the one to be killed off. I mean, he has contributed to the show greatly.
And all credit to them. Kudos to them for making us all think he was going to be that one and changing it. Not I know some people don't care with who was killed, but the fact that they teased us and then tricked us. Kudos.
Yeah. There's 2 more interviews, and perhaps we'll just leave these in the show notes. There's a great interview on comicbookresources.com where CBR talks to James Bamford about what they're planning for the season 4 finale. And we know that they've always had really big fight scenes in the finales. So Bam Bam talks a bit about what we can expect. And spoiler alert, he says, go big or go home. And finally, an interview with David Ramsey. And as we talked about throughout this episode, Diggle is dealing with some stuff. And he talks about how the loss of Laurel impacts Diggle in this episode.
It was nice to see. I mean, I attended C2E2, and one of the panels that I saw was President Roslin and Admiral Adama, Edward James Olmos, and Mary McDonald from Battlestar Galactica. And they talked about Mary McDonald's death scene in that show. Spoiler alert for a 10-year-old show. And they said that they both were physically, and this is just them performing on stage. I can't speak for the veracity of it or not, but they said that they were so emotionally overcome that Mary McDonald actually fell down as she's walking off set. So if you're into the scene, if you're really care about the other actor as a person, the death scenes can be very difficult because you're not going to be working with them anymore. So I can see this happening even on that level.
Well, I mean, but to be fair, when that happened in Battlestar, it was the last episode too. So they all knew they weren't going to be working together anymore.
It was, from what they said, I can't remember, and of course I couldn't record it because they said no recordings, but I think they said it was literally the last scene shot.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Great. That's it for interviews this week. We do have a bit of comic and toy news, and not so much toy news, but I did want to talk about a couple comics that came out. And I'll go out of order if you're following along in our show notes after this episode airs. The first is Black Canary issue 11, which came out on the 27th of April, written by Brendan Fletcher, pencils by Sandy Jarrell. And if you've been following the Black Canary, who is still alive in the comics, the true scope of what Dinah's up against stands revealed, and it's an infernal evil that's out of this world. So she's been dealing with the White Ninjas, and it's actually pretty cool. I've been catching up on the series. Maybe I just need a bit more Black Canary in my life. But the other comic that came out last week was Dark Archer Episode 8, which is part of DC's direct-to-digital. And I don't know if you guys talked about this last week on the cast, but did you guys read this yet?
No, I have
not.
So this story, and we've talked about this before, it's written by Carol Barrowman and John Barrowman, pencils by Daniel Samperi, and it's about the Malcolm Merlin backstory. Now, it's really interesting. One of the things that a lot of fans have hypothesized about is that little vial that he wears as an amulet that glows green, that looks an awful lot like the Lazarus Pit. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because we've seen that Arrow episode or issue 2.5 that we talked about on the cast is canon. Now, I believe that the Dark Archer story is supposed to be canon as well.
I believe so.
Yes. The ancient evil that they discover is another Lazarus Pit. And what they go on to say is there are multiple Lazarus pools scattered around the planet.
Right.
And that's where Barrowman gets, or Malcolm Merlin gets, his little sample of Lazarus water in that pendant. Not from Nanda Parbat, from this other one. So there may be multiple Lazarus pits or pools scattered around the planet in the Arrowverse.
And if you've read Batman books or played any of the Batman Arkham games, you know those are built upon the premise that Ra's al Ghul has multiple Lazarus pits he can go to.
Yeah, and I've always assumed there were more of them out there, but when they closed off the one at Nanda Parbat, I just took that as the show was saying we're not going to deal with this anymore within the show.
Yeah, wait until the end of season 5. They'll resurrect Laurel.
It could happen. I just don't see it happening.
They waited a year to resurrect Sarah, so I have to wait at least a year now to believe anyone's actually dead.
That's
fair enough.
Do I think it's actually going to be the case? No.
Not in this case. Yeah. Other factors are involved.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah. And that's it for toy and comic news. I'm still waiting for new Green Arrow toys, but I'm going to have to wait longer.
That's right. In the meantime, we do have a voicemail. It is our very own Black Adam, and here we go.
Hey guys, it's Adam calling in with feedback on this week's episode of Arrow, and well, it's a shame that it took killing her off to get a couple good Laurel episodes in a row, but that's sort of the way it turned out. Interesting choice with having the flashbacks be between seasons 1 and 2. Definitely filled in some good blanks, though. I loved how Quentin reacted with complete denial, and then even when he did accept, he was like, okay, let me go find the League of Assassins to get her brought back through the Lazarus pit like Sarah was. Just kind of fits the character, especially with how much he's lost and then gotten back, then lost again, then got back again. Did not expect Oliver to go public with the fact that Laurel was Black Canary until right before it happened, pretty much. Though that makes it even more ridiculous that no one knows that he is Green Arrow. I am kind of wondering if Rouvet set this whole thing up just to discredit the vigilantes again. I mean, that seems to happen at the end of every season. I mean, he wasn't given all that much credit to begin with in the first 2 seasons, and then the whole fake Arrow killing people again stuff last season. Nice cameo from Mom coming back. And, well, can't wait to hear what you guys think. Talk to you later. Bye.
I think basically we're in violent agreement. We've hit all of his points.
Yeah, completely agree with you, Adam. Well done. Well said, sir.
Yeah. Great comments. And as always, Adam, thank you for the voicemail.
We really appreciate it. Keep them coming. And if you like other things that Adam calls in on, you can check out other podcasts on the Gonna Geek Network. Right, Chris?
You can. This is that time of the show where we remind you we're part of a network, a family of podcasts, if you will. We call it the Gonna Geek Network. You can find that over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. And each week we try and highlight one podcast, one episode from the network. And this week I just read the show notes and saw that I'm highlighting one of my own.
I like making you do that.
Yeah, so this week we're going to talk about Nerd Alert News, episode 32, entitled, Did Fox Learn the Wrong Lesson? With some cool breaking news, we bring you a special edition episode. Chris, that would be me, runs down the role Nathan Fillion will be playing in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Then it's on to the final X-Men Apocalypse trailer and the reveal of a special character that will appear in the film. Some people might say it's similar to Spidey in Civil War, but I disagree. And yes, I did not spoil it in case anyone wanted to know in the preview. So if you want to know who that character is and why I'm kind of like, you wasted it, go check out Nerd Alert News over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
And since we're on network promos, and I know we're just doing the one promo, we have not officially, as a podcast, welcomed Strange and Unusual Productions to the network. It's a new podcast or group, family of podcasts, and what they are audio dramedies. So they're highly produced. They're wonderful. I laugh out loud every time I listen to one. So you can catch those at gonnageek.com, but go check them out. You will not be, we reviewed it as a podcast committee and we're like, whoa, we need this on the network now. And so they just restarted producing season 2 of Friends of the Family, and you can catch up on all the season 1 stuff. It's all there, and it's just great stuff. So if you like the storytelling version or the fiction version of podcasts, you got to check this out. This is amazing stuff.
Agreed. And listen, if you haven't been listening to Nerd Alert News on the network, Chris does a fantastic job with a solo podcast that runs down all the geeky news every week. And I gotta say, I called the Nathan Fillion cameo 2 years ago. I thought, I won't spoil it. I sent out, there's still a Twitter record of this, of who I think he should be. And I cannot wait to see if there's an actual role and not just a geeky background item.
You know what, Chris? Neil just pulled a wing. I called Batman as Affleck years before it happened.
All Things Good and Nerdy podcast called that 2 years before it happened. We also called the fact that Michael Bay was going to make a movie with The Rock. Pain and Gain.
Yeah, I'm never going to watch another Michael Bay movie again. But anyway, yeah, so we got a bunch of great podcasts on the network. Yes, I will echo Neil's accolades for Nerd Alert News. I will listen to them when they download as I drive to work. They're short enough that I get the whole thing in as I'm driving to work. So it's great, and I'm caught up with all.
Are we still doing phrasing?
Yeah, that is back in the rotation. Let's do So there you go. So I just want to say thank you very much, Chris, for your podcast. I also want to say thank you to all the listeners on Spreaker, all the viewers on Blab, and everybody that's downloaded the podcast. And don't forget, subscribe. That's the big thing. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and Google Play. That is where the money is made.
Great. And I want to thank all the live participants in our Blab chat. We've had Suncast in our chat this evening and a whole bunch of other listeners that have jumped in and out. If you'd like to join the craziness, then you can join in live on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on blab.im or geeks.live. And if you're on blab.im, search for Starling Tribune or Gonna Geek. And don't forget that after the show, we always open up the 4th seat on the Blab interface for our live listeners to hang out and share their thoughts. You can watch the next live show on the Gonna Geek network over at geeks.live. The next live show on the networks is ATGN, All Things Good and Nerdy, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific.
And shortly, there will be a podcast live on Friday nights. So stay tuned for more information on that. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube as well. That's youtube.com/GonnaGeek.
So that live podcast on Friday nights, is that the official verified Cody Goff fan club podcast?
I think every podcast on the network is the official #verified Cody Goff fan podcast.
I just wanted to make sure. But don't forget, you can find all our contact information and all of our network friends over at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. That includes #verified Cody Goff. I had to toss that in there, sorry guys. While you're there, make sure you check out the forums, check out all the other great shows. But if you do want to share your thoughts with us, head on over to our Facebook page, send us a tweet, or best of all, give us a call at 612-888-CAVE. That's 612-888-2283.
Guys, as always, it has been fun hanging out and podcasting with you. That about wraps it up for another week. Any last words before we sign off and open up the Blab interface to our live listeners? At Chris Farrell.
#Wincest. It made Suncast log off.
You broke Neil.
At Stargate Pioneer.
#Star City Superpower Beer Growth.
And I'm at Neil Isn't Witty. Signing off with, I hate you, Chris. Oracle, I think we're done here.
This was the Starling Tribune. You can leave us feedback at gonnageek.com or check out our archive at starlingtribune.com. Visit gonnageek.com for more podcasts. Music by Kevin MacLeod can be found at incompetech.com. This podcast is not produced or maintained by the CW, Warner Brothers Television, CTV, or DC Comics. All characters, stories, and situations are the property of Time Warner. No infringement is intended. We will see you for the next episode of CW's Arrow.
Woohoo! Made it through the podcast.
Sorry to derail the podcast, guys.
You just had to go there, right?
As soon as you reacted that way in the show, I knew what my outro was.
Just had to go there.
I guess.
You've wrecked the show for me.
Oh, please, you're fine.
You
now.
wrecked the show. You're here. Oh, we've got Suncast coming in. This should be good.
What do you mean it should be good? I suck.
Are you here to talk to us about Wincest?
Yes, of course.
Let's detail the many chronicles of Wincest. First chapter, go.
Fanfiction.net. Just go there and search. I'm sure you'll find it.
It just needs to serve the purpose of making you guys say that over and over again.
Oh, I'm going to find a way to put that in every podcast I do this week.
I have been, the wife and I have been marathoning it from season 1. So we've been watching a lot of Supernatural.
I hear it's good through season 8.
And the current season's really good too. And I like some of the ones, like 5 was apparently weak. I kind of see that, but still entertaining. Like it has ups and downs. And that's one of the things that if they can go 11 seasons and have ups and downs, maybe Arrow can too, right?
Yeah.
So.
I'm really hoping that this is just one of those seasons. Because, you know, of course, the first season was a little bit difficult because it was the first season. The second and third seasons were great. So I'm hoping after the fourth season, 'cause at this point, I don't know that I really give a crap about the rest of the season.
I've never watched it, so I'm kind of... I don't have time for it now either. So.
No, the fourth season of Arrow, you're hoping comes back.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought, sorry, that you're still on Supernatural. Yeah, I'm hoping it comes back. I said so, you know, while we're recording live. I'm hoping it gets back into good old Arrow into season 5. And I think they realize that because they got 2 more years on Stephen Amell's contract, I believe. 2 or 3, I think 2. And they need to make them good.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep.
I could care less about Laurel. Really
a lot of people didn't. So that's really why they killed her off. But they did resurrect her. They made her, not physically, but they made her
have the character.
Yeah, they did. They made her a good value to the show, and then they killed her. Like, really? All right.
It just felt so forced, her being Black Canary.
At the end, it wasn't forced anymore. It fit.
I'm still like 7 episodes behind, so.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, those 7 episodes are big in her character.
Yeah, they are in her development.
Yeah.
If we go back in time, that was when Chris still didn't like the character. And near the end, there were a few good Laurel episodes, that worked.
Even Chris admitted it.
Even Chris admitted that.
When she was going through her alcoholic phase, I thought those were great Laurel episodes. Like, I thought she played that character very well, and it felt genuine. Like, her grief and her pain was genuine.
See, I thought they were just wasting
this whole. What's that?
I thought they were just wasting the character at that point in time, but I could see your point in retrospect.
It at least felt genuine and real, and to her character. Since the whole mid-season of season 4 just really has been slow paced.
Yes, the pacing's been off, but you have to, I think the pacing's been off with Arrow also, and I think that Supergirl suffered from pacing issues as well during the mid-season mark. It seems to be prevalent across all of the shows right now.
Yeah.
They had the strong writing teams come in and do the beginning episodes and the end episodes and maybe the mid-season finale episodes. And in between there, they are so spread thin because they have the 3 different shows that I think they let some ones fly when they really shouldn't have. And I don't know if they're going to correct that next year or not. The problem's going to get worse because Marvel's bringing on not 1 but 2 new shows next year. So they're going to spread the comic book writing staff even thinner, not to mention what's going on in the Netflix realm with Marvel. So I realize we're talking about 2 different properties, but the experts are not just experts in one or the other. They do cross in between the 2 properties. So
I'm perfectly fine if they want to sacrifice a couple of shows to bring up the writing quality. Perfectly fine with that, because if you're trying to start multiple shows but sacrificing the writing in order to make more shows, then you're just killing your quality. I'd rather have quality over multiple shows.
Right. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is really, really, really good quality. To me, it is the best comic book show on TV this year. And I've said it all along that this year that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was. Now, a lot of people like Flash. It's just, I guess, personal preference there. I have some issues with Flash personally. But Marvel is really focusing, and Disney is really focusing, and they have a bigger CW and Warner Brothers, small comparison to Disney and Marvel. And they have a bigger bench to draw from and stuff. So they're really trying to laser focus Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think they've done a great job with it. And I really enjoy it. Now,
good, but it's not as good as it has been in the past.
Have you seen the last few weeks?
Yes.
Like last week's, not this week's, but last week's, I thought it might have been even the best episode of the entire series.
I'm not sure about that. It's sad because I think across the board, TV series have been suffering over the course of their current seasons.
So I think it's a problem you're going to see with a lot of series because 22, 23 episodes is very tough to sustain high levels that entire time. You're going to have more clunkers. I think that's where you get smarter with those tighter seasons of like 13 episodes, things like that.
We saw it with Next Generation. You know, there were some really good episodes once you got into season 3 on out, but there were some bad episodes in there too.
It's like I almost feel like for Arrow, they could have done without about 8 episodes in this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's a bigger discussion. That should they move from a 23 episode season back to a 16 or an 18? I think there's a good argument to be made there. To tell you the truth,
maybe, but if you're the network, you need to fill those broadcast slots in order.
That's
to be
why
competitive.
it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's the networks at this point. 23 episodes is the way to go. Now, you might see it if you start going into, I mean, hell, the way TV's split up now, you have 2 distinct seasons. You have your main season and your summer series. Your summer series get away with those shorter episodes, shorter runs.
I say there's 3 seasons now. You're
starting to get that, yeah.
You got your main season, which runs roughly from September to May, but you have that block of the holidays, so mid-December through February, where they're starting to put another show. So that's a season that's just starting out now, and then you've got the summer season. So yeah, I'd say there's 3 seasons.
And some of these series just don't work well with those breaks.
Yeah, Arrow has always been hurt by those.
If you already have pacing issues, having a 2, 3, and 4 week gap is not going to help.
Here's where the issue in that is, though, is that these networks have decades of information about when viewership drops because of spring break or whatever else is out there. So they deliberately do not put their prime stuff out on those weeks, which is why you have those breaks. They don't just randomly decide. They know that during those time periods, like the Easter break, like the Thanksgiving break, whatever, people are just not going to be there to watch the show. So you don't throw it out there because you want the live viewership numbers to market your commercials to and to say that you've delivered to your advertisers. It's
How
all
big was
based
that
on
break
money.
though for Arrow for that mid-season break when it came back with episode 10? Because they did those first like 8 or 9 episodes, and then there was like a month or two.
It was a month and a half, I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was.
And it just seemed like they could have just started all over again, and it would have been fine. But instead, they had to continue it, and continuing it with such a long break, the previous 8 episodes made absolutely no sense because you didn't have that context there. It wasn't fresh in your memory.
Yeah. Good show writers are just going to have to, or showrunners are just going to have to learn to work around that.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to binge watch Arrow, but I'm starting to feel like that's a bad idea because if I'm not watching it week to week, then I'm not interested enough in the show to actually binge watch it.
Even when Jay and I were starting this podcast from the ground up, because neither of us watched the show right away. Like Chris is the last remaining original cast member or host for Starling Tribune, and they picked it up right from the beginning. We had to catch up with our season 1 watch, and we deliberately did not do more than 1 episode at a time because we didn't feel like we could do the show justice to do a couple episodes. And I think you're still seeing that today. You're absolutely right. It's not meant to be binge watched like a Netflix series is.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where I've watched, Arrow in the past and binge watched it, and it was perfectly fine. I think those first 8 episodes of season 4 were able to be binge watched.
So, Suncast, let me ask you this: what shows on TV work for you right now, aside from your vaunted reality show?
Let me go see it because I have this whole list that I have.
Okay.
I actually have a whole TV viewing program thing, and I think The Big Bang Theory it's decent.
It rebounded.
Yeah, Limitless is a show that definitely rebounded. I think in the beginning it was kind of iffy, but I think they definitely finished strong.
I lasted 2.5 episodes, and then it just dropped out because I didn't have the time for it.
Too.
Yeah,
same thing with Blind Spot. That's why I dropped it.
My daughters love it, and so it's on the DVR, so I catch it when I'm doing other things, and it's still meh. It's just a procedural to me now. And
Yeah, we dropped Blind Spot, but yeah, we're about 4 episodes back on Limitless.
So a couple I can think off the top of my head: Archer,
yes,
Blacklist. Blacklist had a brief lull for me, but I still love it.
Episode was so weird, though.
Yes.
I could have done without that episode.
And I'll actually go to a Sci-Fi Channel show. I'm behind on it, but I really enjoy it. The Magicians.
We're about 2 episodes behind on Magicians, but enjoying it.
4
It's
behind
weird, but yeah,
12
I like it.
12 Monkeys just came back with season 2, and it's just as good as it ever has been.
And I'm not sure if this should technically count, but At Midnight.
So, Suncast, back to you. What shows are working for you?
There's a new
Limitless.
show on Fox called Rosewood.
Yeah,
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
And I'm really liking that. It's kind of in there with like an NCIS, but only kind of medical in a way. And I think it's pretty good.
Quincy.
Quincy?
You're not old enough to remember Quincy.
No.
Quincy
Also,
Adams, MD.
Last week tonight also. I forgot that one.
Yeah, last week tonight's on my list.
Yeah.
Anything
No,
else?
There's shows out there, but you know what just came back that I'm starting to really like again is Orphan Black.
I've heard very good things in Orphan Black. I just
They
have
just
not
had
gotten to it
what
yet.
episode? I think their 4th episode today. 3rd or 4th.
That's not bad.
Let's see, 3rd episode. The first 2 episodes of the season were really good.
Yeah, and then we're going to be coming into the summer show, so you're going to get stuff like Last Ship and Falling
Pretty much
Skies
anything
and-
that Greg Berlanti is doing is watchable.
Yes.
Which is sad to say because it's almost in that realm of if it isn't executive produced by Greg Berlanti, it probably isn't that great.
Well, like The Expanse on Sci-Fi, that's a really good show, and that's great.
There are some, but it seems like the majority of what I'm watching is Greg Berlanti in, and if it isn't Greg Berlanti, then it's kind of crappy.
He's taking over TV right now. He's the new hot name.
Totally.
J.J. Abrams used to do, I don't know, 7 or 12 or something like that. Of course, he was the executive producer, but he didn't actually run them all, and he's cut back on that quite dramatically since he's got the helm on Star Wars. But his series, Person of Interest, will be ending the first episode's late May, I believe, for the final 6-episode run or whatever it is. So I'm looking forward to that.
They should have just ended that show.
They need to bring it to a conclusion, though. It's like Fringe, right? You had so much going on that you just need to bring it to a conclusion. Otherwise, your fan base is going to rail against you. Okay. Anything else on cast?
That's it. Just thought I'd pop on here.
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Anytime, man.
You guys take care.
Yep.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Take care.
Okay, guys, you got anything else?
I think that's just about it. Time to grab dinner.
Yep. All right. We'll
Screw
see you
Slick
next
Deals.
week then.
Screw you, Slick Deals.
All right.
Not
Take
a-
care, guys.
Well, yeah, you too. I'm going to pause the recording.